If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Mark Gunn Media.
Hey!
Welcome to Gunshots Straight from the Hip, the show that explores the lives of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. These are uplifting stories of people just like you who touch the lives of others just by being themselves. The views expressed are those of the speaker and guests and do not necessarily reflect those of any advertiser or business entity associated with this broadcast. Here is your host, Mark Gunn.
Welcome to Gunshots Straight from the Hip. How you doing? It's Mark Gunn. We are the podcast that takes a look at ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And if you've been listening over the last couple of episodes, you've met some incredible people. In this episode, probably one of the most incredible people that I've ever met, because if people wore capes, I think she would be wearing one. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet Amanda Mills. How you doing, love?
Hey, thank you. I think you give me too much credit, but I appreciate you and all of your support.
We're going to get into all of that because I think you are a little bit too humble based on what it is that, everything that you've been through. So, first and foremost, Amanda is the chief cook and bottle washer, as I say, for an organization called Street Angels here in Louisville. What is Street Angels?
South End Street Angels is a community outreach where we partner with different organizations and outreach groups to work with our houseless community, as well as community partners with people in crisis, from first responders to ministries to churches. And we just kind of meet people where they are on the worst day of their life.
And you've been at this for how long?
Total, I've been doing this type of volunteer work for over 10 years. As far as my nonprofit, we are about 8 years old.
This isn't new to you because you have a background in this type of work anyway, right?
Yes. And so I have what they call lived experience, and I also have work experience. So double threat.
And I know with the weather being what it is over the last couple of months or so, you guys have been incredibly busy.
Yeah, it's been a storm of all kinds of emotions. And then also just being busy, making sure that we can meet some basic needs to help prevent death and frostbite and hypothermia.
So how did you actually get into this particular line of work?
Well, when I was 3 years old, I experienced houselessness, went to a domestic violence shelter with my mom when she left my biological father. And then again at 17, I was houseless and ended up staying with my high school math teacher and his family after I left the YMCA safe place. And then I was homeless a few more times through my young adulthood. And once I got my life back on track, I said, I want to give back. And I noticed that a lot of the outreach groups and services for our houseless community were downtown, and I live in the South End. So I've always been a firm believer you have to take care of home before you can take care of other places.
Right.
And so I wanted to start an initiative in the community that I live in.
All right. So that in and of itself is a heck of a lot of work. Long hours, long days, long nights. So somewhere in all of this, you become a mom.
Yeah, that's actually when my life changed, when my son was born, because I vowed to him that he would never live the life I did, and I meant it. I've stood by that, and he's never experienced a houselessness. He's never went without a basic need being met. But I also want to do this type of work for both of my kids so that they can see that there's other life out there, because they have a pretty decent life. It's not perfect, but they are blessed. And it's important for me not only that they see that there's another aspect of life, but they also can be the ones that contribute greatness to the world. And
they've also had a chance to see you do some of this work firsthand, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My son's been doing outreach with me since he was in pull-ups. But they go everywhere with me. They go to meetings. They go to the pop-up shelters that we've done. They've done street outreach. They've been there when we deliver food boxes to the sick, elderly are shut in. So they get to see firsthand.
Kids are kids, and yours are preteens. Does that give them a different outlook on their little lives, or are they acutely aware of everything that they're doing?
Yeah, they are. And one thing I can use as a quick example, my son just recently switched schools, and the nurse was taking care of him, giving his afternoon medication, and he noticed that there was a picture frame, and he said, "Did you get that for Christmas?" She said, "Yeah." He said, "What else did you get for Christmas?" And she listed a candle or something. He's like, "That's all you got?" And she was like, "Yeah, that's all I got." And he reached in his pocket, and he had an eraser. It was shaped like a peanut. And he gave it to her and said, "Merry Christmas." And so even though it doesn't seem like a big deal to anyone, that wasn't in that situation,
right,
it impacted that nurse so much that she called me. And she said, "You have raised a sweet boy. This is what happened." And it made my whole day. So they do get the gist of what we do. And they do see the changes. They've been there when we've taken people to recovery, and they've been there when I went to a year sobriety meeting. So
right.
They do. They're very smart.
That is a blessing. So once again, we are talking with Amanda Mills on this episode of Gunshot Straight from the Hip. So we're going to take a little bit of a break so we can pay a couple of bills. But coming up, we are going to get a little deeper and share a story that I think for some other folks would pretty much spell the end, but not for her. More of Gunshot Straight from the Hip coming up in just a second.
If you're an advertiser, one of the most important things about getting your message out is actually standing out from the rest of the crowd. While you're listening to this episode, this is where you would hear your commercial. As an exclusive sponsor of Gunshots Straight from the Hip, your business can be exposed to thousands of listeners at any given time. Your commercial is professionally produced and, depending on your message, can have a longer shelf life based on your needs. Gunshot Straight from the Hip is a unique and compelling program, unlike anything else in this particular space. Episodes are available on many podcast platforms, which makes the potential for new customers that much greater. Most of all, it's extremely cost-effective. If you want more information on how to sponsor this program, call Mark Gunn Media at 502-407-0283. That's 502-407-0283. Or visit our website at markgunmedia.com. That's markgunmedia.com.
Mark Gunn Media. No hype, no hoopla, just damn good work.
Welcome back to Gunshot Straight from the Hip, the show that explores the lives of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. These are uplifting stories of people just like you who touch the lives of others just by being themselves. To download this and past episodes, go to markgunmedia.com or anywhere you get your podcasts. Once again, your host, Mark Gunn.
Welcome back to Gunshot Straight from the Hip. How you doing? It's Mark Gunn, and we are kicking it with Amanda Mills, who is the chair, CEO of South End Street Angels here in Louisville, Kentucky. That is an advocacy group for the houseless. And as we've been talking about before this show even airs, your life has been extraordinary in both the positive and the negative. And when we met, good grief, how long ago was that?
Oh, it's been over 15.
Yeah, it's about 15, almost 20 years.
Yeah.
When we met, you were still doing this type of work. However, there was more of you. So at one point, you were well over 400 pounds.
Yeah, my highest weight was 437 pounds March of 2022.
That wasn't a result of laziness or anything like that. You basically had a circumstance to where you broke your foot.
Yeah, so I actually separated my foot from my leg at a homeless encampment here, actually where Lynn Stadium is built now. There was one of the largest homeless encampments, and the day after Valentine's Day 2018, myself and a police officer fell down an embankment. And my foot got caught in a chain link fence, but the rest of my body kept going.
Ouch.
Yeah, so I had to get 2 surgeries in less than 24 hours, and then I had 2 more surgeries. I got beautiful titanium all in my ankle, which led to me being immobile for an extended period of time.
Right.
And then I also battled depression during that time because I went from being completely independent to solely dependent on everyone else. And if you know me, like you do, you know how hard that was for me.
Yes.
But to throw in the mix of that, I have an endocrine disorder called polycystic ovarian syndrome, which led to my weight gain over the years. And so there is no cure for it. And 1 out of every 10 women experience this or are diagnosed. And what they do is they just treat the symptoms.
Right.
And so at one point I was on 18 different medications. No matter what I did, I couldn't lose weight, supervised diets, exercise, you name it. And nothing was working.
Wow. Couple that, you were dealing with a couple of abusive situations in relationships, the weight, the depression. I think for a lot of ordinary people, that would have been, you know what, I'm done. I'm checking out. How were you able to get through all of that?
Well, it was November of 2021. My primary care doctor gave me a life expectancy of 5 to 10 years if I didn't get my weight under control. And at that point, I was desperate. I didn't know what to do. I just knew my kids were not going to be adults by the time, 5 or 10 years came around. And the thought of them being without me, and the only thing I ever wanted to be in life was a mom.
Right.
That was motivating in itself. And so, I worked the whole time. The employer insurance wouldn't cover it, even at medical necessity.
Right.
So I had to do what I had to do. I took a job making less, and I did get Medicaid, and the insurance ended up covering the procedure that ultimately saved my life.
And that procedure was it laparoscopic?
Yeah, I had a laparoscopic gastric sleeve with Dr. John Samuel Odom with Baptist Health. He's amazing, and he's still part of my journey. He's a great support, and I even think at times I've surprised him, because a lot of people with the BMI as high as mine aren't as successful with the sleeve.
Right.
But I think my highest BMI was 65. Now I'm sitting at 26.
Wow.
So, but a lot of people opt for the bypass, and I didn't want to do that. So a lot of surgeons wouldn't even do a sleeve on somebody as big as I was. So he took a chance, and I was successful. So I'm grateful for him for being one of the superheroes that saved my life.
And you have had an incredible team of people from the start of your life-saving journey. We're not even call it weight loss, because this could have killed you.
Yes, it could have.
Even to this very day. So I remember after the surgery and you were able to start being mobile again, you hitting the gym like a fiend. What was that whole process like?
Oh, it was definitely intimidating. I actually hired Andre Pirtle with These Bodies Fitness for about 15 weeks. I was completely clueless as to how to use gym equipment, but he also pushed me. He knew out of the gate, I did not want to do public workouts, anything like that. Our first workout was at Iroquois Park next to the busiest streets.
Right.
At that point, I realized he cared too. And so he was there. He wouldn't let me quit. Even when I was tired, it was like 98 degrees out some days when we were out running and working out. So, he taught me the ropes, and I just decided to go with it.
And by going with it, and we're talking a good 2.5, almost 3 years of this type of workout, discipline, diet, and still you're having to keep up with medications. You're still working. You've got 2 little kids. What was going through your mind through all of that? That's a lot.
Well, exercising, I used to dread doing it, but now it's become therapeutic. And so it's something I look forward to. It's my alone time. It's my time to exert the stress of every day. It's my self-care.
Right.
But some days it is a lot. And some days when it's a lot, I feel like I don't do enough. And so behavioral health is a very important factor in this. And I do see a bariatric therapist once a month for accountability. Also to express things that are bothering me, triggers for me to not go back into eating inappropriate things that would lead back to weight gain. So it's a thing, but my faith in God is everything, because the Bible doesn't say that God will never give you more than you can handle. The Bible says my strength will come from the Lord. And so no matter what task or issues that I'm faced with each day, I know that I'm equipped to handle them because I know who my God is.
I know that folks that listen to this podcast, I know there's somebody that can relate to this situation, maybe not to the extreme, but they can relate with everything that you were going through. Do you remember your lowest point going through the process?
Yeah, I would say it was the day I was given my life expectancy. Because at that point, I have visited everything, and I didn't really feel like I had the support, and I was scared for my kids. And even though I have a nice life insurance policy and they would be okay.
Right.
They still, the thought of them not having mom, because, if you're a parent, you know the feeling of nobody can raise my kids the way I can. And so in that moment, it was like, God, just give me a break. Show me a break and I will push through. And it was like I walked around in a fog for at least a month before I finally got that approval for me to have my surgery. But then I was like, what if I fail? This is my final option. What if I fail? What if it doesn't work? What if I die in surgery? All of those things. But just keeping my eye on the prize and learning to embrace the journey and not so much be focused on the destination is really what got me together. What really kept me motivated when I wanted to give up, and the good days outweigh the bad. So
I think part of the component is the fact that, and this is where spirituality really comes into play, the fact that you're working still in the service of others while you're dealing with your own thing. I tend to believe that granted you a little more favor as well. So I'll tell you what, we're coming close to the end of one part of your journey, and we're going to talk about the next part. We're kicking it with Amanda Mills here on Gunshot Straight from the Hip. More coming up right after this.
As a business owner, one of your biggest concerns is how to market your products and services. What message do I want to send? Who am I sending it to? How do I reach the largest number of people possible? And how do I make it cost effective? The answer to all of these questions is Mark Gunn Media. Mark Gunn is a radio and multimedia specialist with almost 50 years in the industry. He's an award-winning voiceover artist, audio producer, and radio personality who's used his expertise to help thousands of advertisers throughout his career. Just ask anyone that's worked with him, and they'll tell you that Mark Gunn Media gets results. If you're looking for an effective marketing strategy or any multimedia voiceover work, call Mark Gunn Media at 502-407-0283. That's 502-407-0283. Or contact us at markgunmedia.com.
Mark Gunn Media. No hype, no hoopla, just damn good work.
Welcome back to Gunshot Straight from the Hip, the show that explores the lives of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. These are uplifting stories of people just like you who touch the lives of others just by being themselves. To download this and past episodes, go to markgunmedia.com or anywhere you get your podcasts. Once again, your host, Mark Gunn.
Welcome back to Gunshot Straight from the Hip. Don't forget that you can download this and any other episodes that you want to hear wherever you get your podcast. You can also go to my website at markgunmedia.com for more information about the multimedia services that we offer, okay? We're talking with Amanda Mills, who is the CEO, Chief Cook and Bottle Washer of South End Street Angels, a houseless advocacy group. We're also talking about the extraordinary life that she has led, one that she could have lost, but through faith and through a whole lot of hard work, she is with us today, well over 200 pounds lighter, with a stronger faith and determination in her work with the Street Angels. So you had a goal weight to get to initially, and I can't remember what that was.
It was 225.
225. And once you got to 225, other options began to open for you.
Yes. So originally they wanted me to reach 225, 18 months post-op. And I actually got down to 192. And so I always told them I wanted to be in Wonderland, which is something I've never been in my adult life. So they agreed. And once I got down there, my BMI was below 30. And I was left with a whole lot of extra skin, primarily on my stomach.
Right.
2 children, being overweight since I was 9 years old. And so it was causing issues. And I was trying to find someone who would be willing to remove the excess skin. And a lot of the plastic surgeons were like, we will not touch you unless we do the cosmetic part, which is the tummy tuck and things like that. So it was these astronomical totals.
Right.
And as a single parent, barely making it at that time, and doing what I could, there's just no way possible that I could afford $14,000 to $28,000 in surgery. So I just was learning to live with it. I still kept the faith, and I scheduled an appointment for skin removal on the last consult a year before I seen the surgeon because his wait list is that long.
Wow.
So, and that's when the ball started rolling.
And as luck would have it, there were some insurance companies that were able to categorize your skin removal as a medical necessity.
Yes. So it is a medical necessity. I do work a full-time job, and my insurance through my employer ended up adding it's called a panulectomy as a medical necessity in April of last year. So it became a covered procedure as long as it was deemed medically necessary. Now, it doesn't cover the cosmetics.
Right.
So finding a surgeon now who will just remove your skin and be happy and move on is still near impossible, because if you think about it, a plastic surgeon's work is their livelihood.
Right.
Like,
it's their canvas.
So if it doesn't look good,
Right.
they don't want to do it. They want to do the whole kit caboodle. And so my insurance through my employer told me if I found somebody, they would cover it. And so I had the person from my health insurance advocating for me, which I've never seen an insurance provider advocate.
Right.
But they did. And so it led me to Dr. Brandon Wilhelmy at U of L Health. And I went to go see him, and he agreed to do the skin removal. And he's like, it's a 20-minute operation, and, insurance is going to pay me like $800. And I had raised about $1,100 on GoFundMe from community members. And I told him about it and asked if he wanted it as a donation or whatnot. But he told me, no, keep it for when I'm 40 so I can get my arms done, because it's harder to get your arms done medically necessity. So, and that's another $8,000 procedure if I choose to have it. But Dr. Wilhelmy had looked at my before photo and my now photo, and he said, who is that? And I said, that's me. And he pointed to it again. He said, no, who's that? I said, that's me in March of 2022. And he had me stand back up. And he reiterated what insurance would pay for skin removal, but he told me I would be in his OR for 4 hours.
Okay.
And so, which was a true statement, I was in his OR for 4 hours. And the reason for the 4 hours is because he blessed me with the cosmetic surgery. I was blessed with a extended tummy tuck along with the skin removal. He removed 7.05 pounds of skin.
Wow.
And he was able to do muscle repair and everything else. When I got my bill back the breakdown of the bill from an insurance company, because we get summaries, it showed that he did, in fact, give me over $40,000 discount.
Wow. And through this process, I mean, it has to be said that you have had a lot of angels in your path that would bless you with things like this, because the cost in and of itself, and this is something we'll get into in just a little bit. So you're coming off the surgery, and the recovery time is just, with everything that you've shared on social media, was not nice.
No, it's been the worst physical pain. Day 3 after surgery, I'm not one to take pain medication or anything like that. I had 2 C-sections and a hysterectomy, and I didn't take any narcotics. But on day 3, when that pain block wore off, I cried and I cried. And people that were there know me and helping take care of me, they were on the phone. We got to get her something. Right. And he was very adamant about just stay on the regimen. It will be okay. And it was eventually. Even then, as we move on, here we are almost 4 months out, and I'm still having tight muscles, limited on lifting things and all that stuff. But it's about a 6-month process to recover.
So when you were able to finally stand upright, and I know you're still bandaged to a degree because you're still healing, and you're able to start wearing smaller clothes, do you remember your reaction the first time you put on something that was a much smaller size?
Well, it's hard to believe sometimes. So at first I didn't really recognize me because everything happened so quickly. 2 or 3 years seems like a long time, but when you've been big your whole life, it's hard for your mind to catch up when it's that drastic of a change.
Right.
But I wore a red dress on December 26th, and I put that bad boy on, and I felt like a whole supermodel. And I'm grateful for that. But I will tell you, it was one of the best feelings. I think it was the first time in my life I actually felt sexy. I've been that cute face or that beautiful person all my life. Right. But in that moment, I was like, I know when I walk in the room, everybody's going to look, and guess what? They did.
That's something else that I noticed almost immediately was your level of confidence. It's just gone straight through the roof. But that grounded Amanda that I've always known was still there. Has that added confidence helped you in your work with Street Angels?
Yeah, absolutely. I always tell people when I do my speaking engagements on weight loss and things like that, or individuals that I meet with on, one-on-one coaching, is that I lost myself while finding myself, like literally. Physically, I lost myself, but in the midst of losing all of that baggage, I found myself.
Right.
My whole life, people told me that I would never amount to anything. I would just be a statistic. I was an at-risk youth who was homeless. Like, I wasn't destined for greatness. And as I started making these small victories in my life, I started realizing that God didn't create no punk. And then I also realized, when I walk into rooms before, people just really didn't pay me no mind.
Right.
But now when I walk into rooms, it's like people want to listen or they see me. And so I had shared recently, I felt invisible in a world full of people. And now I don't feel so invisible because I was able to, one, heal and release baggage from my past.
Right.
I was able to get rid of the remnants of a fat suit that I was imprisoned in for most of my life. And then I've also been a part of things that have transpired that have been full of great things. It's beautiful. And like the people that say I inspire them, they inspire me. If I didn't have some of their comments on the worst days or their messages or whatever, some days it's like those come in right on time. It's like, here you go. So I would say absolutely. I do feel like because people see me, they're more willing to listen now than before. So I do speak up. And I do feel like I can hold myself with the level of confidence that people understand, like, it's not just for show. It's not just because I got something to gain, because I don't gain anything from Street Angels.
Right.
Besides knowing that lives have been saved and positively impacted.
And speaking of the impact, you've been able to start doing speaking tours. That's becoming part of a normal routine for you.
Yeah, so love speaking in front of people, but I never really thought that my story would be impactful enough to help other people. And so, yeah, I've been blessed to be able to travel different places, to Atlanta, St. Louis. I'm looking at New York right now. But my favorite is home, because these are the people that I live around, people that I want to inspire. But I'm grateful for every opportunity that I get. I'm very humbled. Like, I'll never forget where I came from. That's one thing for sure.
All right, so once again, we are talking with Amanda Mills, who is the head of South End Street Angels, about her extraordinary story of not only weight loss, but a life gained. Another ordinary person doing extraordinary things, and more of those things we're going to talk about in just a second. More coming up. Gunshots straight from the hip.
If you're an advertiser, one of the most important things about getting your message out is actually standing out from the rest of the crowd. While you're listening to this episode, this is where you would hear your commercial. As an exclusive sponsor of Gunshots Straight from the Hip, your business can be exposed to thousands of listeners at any given time. Your commercial is professionally produced and, depending on your message, can have a longer shelf life based on your needs. Gunshots Straight from the Hip is a unique and compelling program, unlike anything else in this particular space. Episodes are available on many podcast platforms, which makes the potential for new customers that much greater. Most of all, it's extremely cost-effective. If you want more information on how to sponsor this program, call Mark Gunn Media at 502-407-0283. That's 502-407-0283. Or visit our website at markgunmedia.com. That's markgunmedia.com.
Mark Gunn Media. No hype, no hoopla, just damn good work.
Welcome back to Gunshots Straight from the Hip, the show that explores the lives of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. These are uplifting stories of people just like you who touch the lives of others just by being themselves. To download this and past episodes, go to markgunmedia.com or anywhere you get your podcasts. Once again, your host, Mark Gunn.
Welcome back to Gunshots Straight from the Hip. Mark Gunn holding you down. And remember, you can always download past episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Also, check out my website, markgunmedia.com, for all the information on the multimedia services and consultations that we offer. So you definitely want to check that out. We are talking with Amanda Mills of Street Angels, South End Street Angels here in Louisville, about her journey of finding life and a great loss that was so positive. Now, coming out of all of this, because again, we've known each other for a good while, But I go back to that favor that you have been granted because of throughout your trials and tribulations, you're still out there trying to help people. I remember seeing just not too long ago a whole lot of blessings coming your way, one after the other, after the other, after the other. You want to talk about some of those?
Yes. So one of the things I have always wanted to do was to meet Shaquille O'Neal. And he was coming here to Louisville to the Muhammad Ali Center for Humanitarian of the Year Award.
Right.
And Devon Holt, I love him, by the way. He's an amazing human being. He does great things for our community. He's the CEO of the Muhammad Ali Center now. Right. And he knows that I really wanted to see and meet Shaquille O'Neal. Mm-hmm. And I was 9 days post skin removal and tummy tuck. And Shaq was here in Louisville. And the day before, I was blessed with a seat at the award ceremony. And one of the blessings that came from that is I got to meet Lonnie Ali. Yes. And I got to sit down and talk to that amazing woman for 20 to 25 minutes. Mm-hmm. She has no idea how much she inspired me. She filled my cup all the way up. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I hope to keep in touch with her because she really is an inspiration when it comes to strength and moving forward with great things in spite of loss. I thank her for that. But that night, Shaquille O'Neal walked in and I became a little schoolgirl. I had my mind made up what I was gonna say if I met him. He come walking down, and good thing, I took a card and I wrote in it and I gave him a copy of a Courier Journal newspaper article I was in September, and I took it with me, and I'm glad I did, because when he came down the little aisle for me to meet him,
right,
he looked at me and like everybody knew I was there to see him, so they all moved. And so I said, "Hi, I'm Amanda. Can I have a photo?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And so we took a photo, and I go to hand him the card because I can't speak at this point. My heart feels like it's about to pop out my chest. Right. I ain't gonna lie. And he said, "What's this?" I said, "It's for you." He said, "Oh, thanks." And he took it. And that's the only conversation I had with him that night. I don't know if he read the card. I don't know if he threw it in the trash or what, but I did put my contact information because one of the things that I want to do is I don't want nothing from him.
Right.
Like, I literally want to say thank you because some of the worst days of my life, his videos, that man is up for the shenanigans. And if you know me, I am loving
always
the shenanigans.
Down for the shenanigans. Yes, ma'am.
But
yes, ma'am.
I'm truly grateful for like what he does for the community behind the scenes. And he's inspired me to kind of branch out in different aspects of my nonprofit. So meeting him, even only in that brief exchange, and not being able to have a conversation, I probably look like a whole groupie, for real, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm lightweight embarrassed. But mind you, I was not able to take any muscle relaxers or pain medications because I had to drive. I had my JP drain still in from surgery. I had to hide. I'm like, I'm not missing this moment for nothing. And so, but I do get a selfie with him, so I'm grateful for that. So that inspired me to keep going and doing great things as much as I'm able to. Other blessings that came in, just being blessed with the opportunity to bless a family that was sleeping in a shed at Christmas time. We were able, within 48 hours of me learning, we were able to get them into a home, and they had a tree and Christmas and everything. That let the little girl in me heal, because I know what it felt like to be those 3 little girls that needed a place to live. So yeah, just all kinds of amazing things.
Something else that you don't talk about a whole lot, but you and I have discussed, is the book that you're in the middle of writing.
Oh, yes. I cannot wait. It's called My Eat, Pray, and Love Journey, a true story of hope and redemption. So it's a more in-depth memoir that discusses the trials and tribulations early in life, the process, and where I'm at now. There's, again, the book really talks about childhood abuse and neglect that led into my young adulthood, and even just a few years ago, domestic violence was still a thing of my life. Not anymore.
Right.
Not anymore. But my hope is that when this book goes out, that somebody reads it and I'm that person I needed but didn't have. And that they'll have now.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. Coming up in just a little bit, we want to talk more about the work that you do with Street Angels, because we're going from one type of healing to another. More with Amanda Mills coming up on Gunshots Straight from the Hip.
As a business owner, one of your biggest concerns is marketing your products and services. What message do I want to send? Who am I sending the message to? How do I reach the largest number of them possible? And how do I make it cost effective? The answer to all of these questions is Mark Gunn Media Inc. With over 4 decades of multimedia experience, from producing your commercial to giving you a winning strategy for marketing your business, Mark Gunn Media can help you get the best possible outcome. Just ask any of our past clients, and they'll tell you that Mark Gunn Media gets results. For more information, call 502-407-0283. That's 502-407-0283.
Welcome back to Gunshot Straight from the Hip, the show that explores the lives of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. These are uplifting stories of people just like you who touch the lives of others just by being themselves. To download this and past episodes, go to markgunmedia.com or anywhere you get your podcasts. Once again, your host, Mark Gunn.
Welcome back to Gunshot Straight from the Hip. My name is Mark Gunn. Don't forget, you can download this episode and every other episode through my website, markgunmedia.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. Spread the word, share the love. If you're listening on Apple, please leave us a review because that helps the algorithm and it helps people get more exposed to what we're trying to do here, because the podcast space is flooded. And with everything the way that it's going right now, you got a brand new administration in office. And normally, if you've been listening to any of my previous podcasts, normally I would be all over that with all sorts of political analysis and opinion and that type of thing. But when we started season 3, I came in with the mindset of, let everybody else have that space. I want to try to do something positive because we got a whole lot of stories that are out here that need to be told about ordinary people that do extraordinary things. And Amanda Mills, who's been our guest, is yet one of those people. So we talked about your personal healing journey through your trials and tribulations, all the while doing the work that you've been doing with houseless advocacy and your work with the South End Street Angels. With trying to be an advocate and trying to help people, I know there are challenges that come at you from many different directions. Some being as small as somebody that is houseless being stubborn and not wanting to help, to much bigger challenges from city government. What have been some of those challenges that you've had to overcome, or that maybe that you're still dealing with?
Yeah, so most recently, we had a pop-up shelter that we were partnering with the Streetery, and it was closed down by the fire marshal because they said that we didn't have a permit or something.
And the Streetery is a restaurant, right?
It is a restaurant.
Right.
But they had closed down their operations. The employees knew that, that week they would be closed. They actually showed up to volunteer and help out. And so they weren't operating as normal. So we didn't think that there would be any issues. Prior to the prior 5 years, before, I led pop-up shelters throughout the southern part of Jefferson County. We never had an issue. Nobody ever came and said, you can't do this, nothing like that. In fact, January of last year, we had 82 people in.
Oh, wow.
And no issues, no overdoses, no police runs, no nothing. So we didn't know. And we were notified less than a few hours before the next snowstorm was coming in. And so we were like, we got to shut down by 9 o'clock. And that was hard. And when we asked questions, the city leaders didn't have answers. And then it became where they were starting to piece it together to make it legal according to their laws or whatnot.
Right.
But in the midst of that, we've had conversations. I think everybody has learned, from state level to volunteers to those that are experiencing houselessness, a lot from this last situation. The community showed up. The community wanted to help. And that's what I've always wanted, was to bring our community together and help their neighbors, whether they're houseless or not. I think everyone got to see the impact of community coming together, because instead of one pop-up this year, we had 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we had one at the VFW, 181. We had one at Voice of Truth Church on Valley Station Road. And then we had the Streetery. And so we were able to help close to over 200 lives saved. It was definitely one of those things I think a lot of people were healing. We had the Jeep Club come out and start transporting people, helping people get to medical appointments. They took a surgeon to the hospital so they could do a transplant that day.
Oh, wow.
We got 2 people to dialysis. People don't think about the impact that people can do in the community when they come together, because everybody has their own gift and strength.
Right.
And so I think everybody got to see the impact and the importance. And so, like I said earlier, I used to walk into rooms and people wouldn't hear me or see me. But this time I spoke up. I said, you may not listen to me, but you will hear me, respectfully. And this is a prime example, because this Friday I have a meeting with city leaders, council members, and also land usage and from Metro. So we can sit down to see what is in place,
right,
what needs to be changed, so that we can streamline and make a user-friendly permit process for anyone in the community that wants to open their doors.
And to that point, because one of the things that came out in this whole ordeal was that there were several centers that had been operating without licenses.
Yeah.
And either they were just ignored or they had fallen through the cracks.
Yeah, I think it was more so those resources are absolutely needed here. And if we address those and by chance they do get shut down, there is no plan for displaced 600 some odd people.
Right.
And so I think they were given a little bit of grace, and I think they thought, because they've operated for so long that, they're okay, they know the gist of it. But it did bring a lot of awareness to the situation. The news reporters that showed up that night that we were shut down at the streetery, there wasn't a dry eye in there. We had to turn 7 people away. And in that moment, they realized okay, so one of the news reporters went and did his own research. And that's when he found out, you got government funded homeless shelters with expired permits. And we're not talking about just a few months. I'm talking about over a year.
Wow.
And then I believe the other 2 was longer than a year. But here we are as a community, didn't ask the city for any money. All donations were from the community. And we were minding our own business. The reporting person was a council member. She states that wasn't her intention. She's sorry that it happened, but she's willing to work with us. And she is. She will be at the meeting on Friday, so she is a woman of her word, and I appreciate that. And I also appreciate her taking a stance and accepting ownership, because when a community sees or learns that somebody makes a mistake,
right,
because they're humans too, that also creates a level of distrust. And so for her to come out and say, yes, I made a mistake, it wasn't my intentions, I'm willing to work to make it right. I can respect her for that. In the moment, it sucked. I felt defeated. The volunteers that showed up that day felt defeated. The restaurant owner felt defeated. But now that we're moving forward and we're out of that crisis and we're able to go to that table so it don't happen again, that's refreshing. So I'm grateful for that.
And I think the fact that you have been able to do all of this without taking a dime from the city has to make them pay attention. It's okay, if this one woman is able to do all this and have this type of impact, where are we missing the boat? What are we not doing that she's doing? So I think that the meeting of the minds is going to be beneficial to a whole lot of folks.
Yeah, and I think it wasn't always easy for me. I didn't always have the support. And I want to make it clear, none of this is possible because of me, myself. Yes, I've been told you're the leader, you led the pack, people came together. I understand somebody has to lead, because I believe people want to help. Sometimes they don't know how.
Right.
And so it does take a leader. But it's taken years to get to the level of support I have now. And that's through the work that I've done, people witnessing it, people being a part of it. We finally reached the point where we're going to move in the right direction and just keep on having those roundtables, being respectful, want to encourage people to come together. Not everybody's going to agree on stuff. With the way I do things, you may not agree with, and vice versa. But there's a way to do it, because what we've been doing for the last 10 years, that loud and proud, that resistance, it's not been effective. And at the end of the day, I'm just a regular citizen in this community. I have no power. So I have to be able to sit down with city leaders who have that power and be able to reason with them respectfully and still stand my ground and move forward to make those changes. As far as the funding goes, I haven't needed their money because the community has stepped up. They see the work that we do. They support it. They are quick to jump in now. Whereas before, there was a lot of questions oh, okay, here's another one.
Right, where's the money going? What is she doing? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
And I can tell you, when I founded Street Angels, it was 100% community. I do not get paid. None of my volunteers or board members get paid. In fact, the city, the Homeless Services gave us 24 $50 gift cards for gas reimbursement. And the board and everybody was like, you need one for you because you're doing a lot of driving. I did not even keep one for me.
Oh, wow.
Because I know what I signed up for.
Right.
And so 100% of the donations that come in to our organization go right back out in the community. And so I think it's really important that, yes, the city sees what they've been doing hasn't been working. Outreach sees what we've been doing hasn't been working. So we need to switch it up. And so that's where we're at today. It's what brought me to where we are here. And I'm going to go there and I'm going to advocate. And again, it's volunteer work.
There you go. And coming up in just a little bit, something fun that Amanda and I did not very long ago that we need to do again.
Absolutely.
More coming up with Gunshots Straight from the Hip right after this.
If you're an advertiser, one of the most important things about getting your message out is actually standing out from the rest of the crowd. While you're listening to this episode, this is where you would hear your commercial. As an exclusive sponsor of Gunshots Straight from the Hip, your business can be exposed to thousands of listeners at any given time. Your commercial is professionally produced and, depending on your message, can have a longer shelf life based on your needs. Gunshots Straight from the Hip is a unique and compelling program, unlike anything else in this particular space. Episodes are available on many podcast platforms, which makes the potential for new customers that much greater. Most of all, it's extremely cost-effective. If you want more information on how to sponsor this program, call Mark Gunn Media at 502-407-0283. That's 502-407-0283. Or visit our website at markgunmedia.com. That's markgunmedia.com.
Mark Gunn Media. No hype, no hoopla, just damn good work.
Welcome back to Gunshot Straight from the Hip, the show that explores the lives of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. These are uplifting stories of people just like you who touch the lives of others just by being themselves. To download this and past episodes, go to markgunmedia.com or anywhere you get your podcasts. Once again, your host, Mark Gunn.
Welcome back to Gunshot Straight from the Hip. My name is Mark Gunn. Don't forget that you can download this and past episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Also, when you get a moment, check out my website, markgunmedia.com, and talk about all of the multimedia services that we offer. Talking with Amanda Mills, another ordinary person doing extraordinary things. She's the head of Street Angels. We talked about your monumental weight loss and life gain. The book is going to be coming out soon. We'll get all that information to folks out again. And the challenges that you've had with your organization, Street Angels, and how there's finally going to be a meeting of the minds between you and the city. We'll definitely keep progress on that. But got to go back to something that you and I did a couple of years ago that I've kind of taken the mantle of and have been doing every now and then. So one afternoon, we met for lunch, and you want to tell that story?
Yeah, so I said earlier I'm up for the shenanigans. I like to laugh and have fun. I like to do things that maybe aren't traditional. I like to make people feel uncomfortable to the point that they feel comfortable.
Right.
And so I made a post about giving out random hugs. And of course, because we've known each other, he was like, I'm down.
Right.
So we did. We went down to 4th Street and random people just walking by. We gave hugs and some people didn't want them, but then they stood there and contemplated. And even the server, I think, changed his mind.
Yes,
he ended up getting a hug. So you just never know what people are going through. We live in a tough world. And so we did. We gave out free hugs for a couple hours.
And so what I've done is I've taken that initiative and basically trying to formalize it. We call it Random Hugs of Kindness. And in doing my research, doctors say that the average person needs 12 hugs a day, one for mental health, spiritual health, and emotional health. And the longer the hug, the more beneficial it is. So up to 20 seconds. You can research this stuff yourself. So the way that I've got it planned out is that you want to hug at least 5 people a day, 4 people you know, and somebody that you don't know. Because to your point, you never know what somebody's going through. And I've also adopted a philosophy of hugs, no handshakes. So anybody that I greet, if I know them or not, I explain that to them and they're receptive to it. So I will not greet you with a handshake. I will always greet you with a hug because of that very reason. So at some point, once everything settles down, we need to do an organized effort between Street Angels, my radio station, WLOU, check it out online, WLOUonline.com, and of course the men's group that I model for, the Mod Squad. We'll tell you more about that too. And just have a day to where we're giving out random hugs of kindness. So that is a concept of Amanda's, and it was a lot of fun. People did look at us like we were 3 shades of crazy.
And it made us feel good,
but
too.
Yeah, it made us feel good, too. So let's talk again about, we don't have a due date on the book yet, right?
No, I'm looking at spring, early summer of 2025.
And the name of the book is?
My Eat, Pray, and Love Journey, a true story of hope and redemption, a memoir.
Now, if people wanted to get more information about South End Street Angels and if they wanted to help, how can they do that?
We are on Facebook right now. We weren't expecting to grow to the capacity that we have, so we are in the process of getting a website made, but most of our platform for the last years has been Facebook. If you are in need of help, you know somebody that's in need of help, you can send us a message on there. We will get back to you as soon as we can. If we are able to help, we will. Unfortunately, we're not set up to help every single body that requests.
Right.
But we do our best to help whoever we can. So that would be just South End, one word, Street Angels on Facebook.
Make sure that you also check out Amanda on her socials, because every now and then she'll pop in with some inspirational live Facebooks that you'll do. You're also very upfront about sharing your journey there too.
Yeah, I realize, and one of the things that has really helped me with South End Street Angels is that we heal by helping others heal. Mm-hmm. And so I have been transparent about my weight loss journey. I've shared the good, bad, the ugly. I've given tips, recipes, things like that, because I want people to know that no matter how bad their situation is right now, they ultimately have control. Like our mind, I learned one thing about our minds. Our minds are so stinking powerful that if people realize that they really hold their own destiny in their hands, that they would be able to achieve greatness too. But sometimes it takes someone else believing in you for you to believe in yourself. And I've also said this, I'll let you borrow some of my hope until you get yours back. That's something I've used from the beginning, and I will continue to use. So definitely follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and also TikTok. You might catch me with some dance moves.
And again, the journey continues.
Absolutely.
And we will definitely be watching. Amanda, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I love you. You're my brother. I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for people like you who pick me up on my low days and keep me motivated to go when it's tough, and it reminded me how far I've come. So thank you.
Once again, this is Gunshot Straight from the Hip. Make sure you check out Amanda on all her socials. Make sure you check us out on the website, markgunmedia.com, and wherever you get your podcasts. Be the reason somebody smiles today. Remember our random hugs of kindness. 5 people, 4 you know, 1 that you don't know, because the power of a hug is an incredible thing. We will see you next time, and until then, God's peace, God's blessing. And if you can't change the people around you, change the people around you.
Amen.
You've been listening to Gunshot Straight from the Hip, the show that explores the lives of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. These are uplifting stories of people just like you who touch the lives of others just by being themselves. We're always looking for feedback and show ideas, so reach out to us by email. mark@markgunmedia.com. That's mark@markgunmedia.com. Make sure you check us out for the next episode. Thank you for listening.
Mark Gun Media. No hype, no hoopla, just damn good work.